Hello my friends and welcome to the channel. This is Thordrenick and today we are going to be talking about 5 specs that I am most looking forward to playing on my alts in Battle for Azeroth. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We do a lot of World of Warcraft content. We have 2 or more videos coming out each week, as well as 2 or more live streams coming out each week as well. So if you haven't been here before and if you like what you see, consider subscribing. On to the topic at hand. So 5 specs that I'm most looking forward to on my alts in Battle for Azeroth. We're going to start this one off with the Havoc Demon Hunter. I love the Demon Hunter for a lot of different scenarios. I think it's the most fun class to play in the game in open world outdoor content, and that's going to be a big part of the early Battle for Azeroth game, just like it was early in Legion. It's going to be a big part because there's going to be world quests that are important for reputation gains and gearing up. Obviously, rep letters matters less on your alts than it does on your main, but it still matters to some degree or another, and world quests are one of the best ways to gear up. And I think Demon Hunters are the most fun class to play in that because of their mobility, because of things like Glide, where they can just, not take any fall damage ever, and because of the utility that they bring and the self-healing that they have. It's just a super fun class to play in the outdoor world content, and while the rotation is simple and maybe doesn't have the kind of depth that most people are looking for in a raiding main, I think that the rotation does exactly what it needs to do, and it's engaging enough, depending on what talents you take, to still be fresh and not be boring at any point. Some of the builds I'm not too big a fan of, particularly the Demon Blades build and the Momentum build, but those can be fun enough in outdoor content or in small doses. But generally, if I'm going to pick a main character based on a lot of different factors, and one of those factors is the mobility of the class, I'm not a fan of trading in that mobility for additional damage. So I don't like the Momentum build, and just the positional requirements always feel awkward to me. It's a lot easier to get by with Fellblade being a go-to option for the build, and with the Momentum buff being more than 4 seconds, but at the end of the day I still don't enjoy that playstyle in a raiding environment, at least. But as for an alt, I am very much looking forward to playing the Demon Hunter, the Havoc Demon Hunter in particular, and Vengeance to some degree or another in Battle for Azeroth. Next up, we have the Fire Mage, and this is not just because of the burning of things being relevant to the lore right now. This is because I really like fire. It is one of the most enjoyable casters to play in the game since the Legion revamp, and it does not disappoint in Battle for Azeroth. In fact, 2 of the legendaries that made fire a lot more fun and engaging, the bracers and the belt, the bracers giving you the proc to hardcast Pyroblast and the belt giving you execute with Scorch, are both talents, so you can maintain both of those playstyles if you like them going into Legion. Now it's true that going into Battle for Azeroth. Now it's true that you have to give a little bit up, you have to give up a couple of other talents to get those, but that's a lot better than a lot of other classes have it, and the playstyle that you can get by bringing in those 2 talents is very fun and engaging. You can hardcast really hard-hitting Pyroblasts, and you get an execute phase as a mage, which is something that is very different from where mages have been historically. I find the Fire Mage to be one of the most fun classes, one of the most fun specs, period, to play, and even after playing it for most of Legion, it has just not gotten old for me. I just love the spec. I love the fantasy of being a mage who hurls fireballs and burns his enemies with arcane power, and the spec itself too is great. Other things that I like about the mage are the mobility. You might see a theme in some of my choices here. I really like the high mobility that mages have, especially when you take Shimmer, where you can continue doing your rotation while moving around the room and not losing any downtime, not having any downtime, not losing any casting time at all. I really like that. I also really like the utility that mages bring. You have portals for your group so that when you finish something up, you can send them back to your capital city or whatever capital city they want to, or you control them and send them to the Dalaran crater. You can you bring food for your healers, you bring a raid buff now, again, Arcane Intellect, which is a big spell power buff for the group, and I just really like bringing something extra to the table, and of course most importantly you bring Time Warp to the table, so that your group, if you don't have a shaman or a hunter, they don't have to worry about that. You've got the most important raid buff in the game to give to your allies. So those are some of the things that I really like about the Mage, and that's kind of why I'm really looking forward to playing my Fire Mage as an alt, not as a main, but as an alt in Battle for Azeroth. Next up, we've got the Outlaw Rogue. Now this may throw a lot of people off, this may be a surprising inclusion in a video like this, but I really like Outlaw as an alt. I would not main Outlaw. If I was maining my Rogue again like I was for most of the end of Legion, I would not choose Outlaw as my main spec. I think the Roll the Bones gameplay is ultimately not reliable enough to be fun in a big like raiding group environment where you're trying to do progression, but as an alt where I'm not really pushing progression with this character, I'm just trying to have fun, I think Roll the Bones is a phenomenal ability. Yes, it's a little bit of a downer when you only get one buff, and it's the buff that you don't want to play with, and you get it 2 or 3 times in a row, but you have those moments where you get all of the available buffs and just go absolutely berserk on the enemies that you're attacking. I also really like Adrenaline Rush. It's one of my favorite cooldowns in the game. Any cooldown that increases haste like Adrenaline Rush does and just speeds up the gameplay to drastic levels is something that I am totally on board with and always will be a fan of. And I've always liked Adrenaline Rush, and I like the new rework to Blade Flurry, where it is now an ability with charges. It's not just a toggle on, toggle off for, you know, less energy and more cleave, or more energy and no cleave. I like that there's a little bit of thought that goes into it. I like that it doesn't impact your energy generation anymore, and I just really appreciate where Outlaw is right now. They brought back some of the names of combat abilities, and that really makes it a little more near and dear to my heart. So the Outlaw Rogue is the third spec that I'm looking forward to. Number 4 is the Balance Druid. I really like what they've done with Balance. Balance has gone from being the spec that I leveled as in vanilla, going all the way back, and that was not fun, let me tell you what. Leveling as a Balance Druid before Moonkim form was even a thing, before, you know, any of the talent tree revamps, but that's another video for another day. It's gone from being that to being one of my least favorite specs in the game for a lot of its iterations, particularly in Mists and Warlords, to being a really good iteration I found and I thought in Legion, where you just had this good synergy and there wasn't a bar controlling your actions. Well, there sort of is. You have a power bar that you're filling up and spending, but I think it works for Balance, and the fact that you have other buffs layered on top of that with the casting Star Surge and getting empowerments on your main filler spells, and then having multiple dots to maintain, I find Balance to be a very engaging spec and a very enjoyable spec to play. And the changes that they made for Legion, from Legion going into Battle for Azeroth, I find really good as well, particularly the changes where you can proc empowerments from casting the opposite spell. So if you cast Solar Wrath, you can proc a Lunar Empowerment. If you cast Lunar Strike, you can proc a Solar Empowerment. And that adds just a little bit more unpredictability to the gameplay that Balance was really sorely lacking in Legion. I know a lot of people are not really keen on all the changes, and particularly in the moon spells being made into a talent that it looks like is not even going to be a viable option at this point. But I think overall Balance is tremendously fun to play, at least in the pre-patch, and it looks like it'll continue to be fun at 120 as well. So I'm looking forward to playing Havoc Demon Hunter, Fire Mage, Outlaw Rogue, Balance Druid, and the one that I didn't even see coming, the Discipline Priest. Priest is a class that I don't think I have ever had at max level, but I've been leveling up a Priest because I want to have every class at max level in Battle for Azeroth, and fairly early in Battle for Azeroth, and Discipline has just blown my socks off. This spec is so much fun. It is such a unique way of healing. It brings back a lot of memories for me of fist weaving back in Mists of Pandaria, and yet it still has a lot more engagement to it than that ever did. You have to maintain your atonement on your party members by using power word shield on them. So if someone needs healing, you throw up a shield on them and then continue to do damage, and you will heal them. If nobody needs healing, you can do competitive damage with some DPS specs, especially if you're with under-geared players or maybe players who don't know everything that they're doing, which is going to happen more often on an alt than it will on your main. I just love the way Discipline plays. I love the idea of dealing damage to do healing, and I love the idea of having, you know, minor shields. Shields are no longer Discipline's, you know, overpowered heyday like they were in previous expansions, but you do have shields. You do have a little bit of that gameplay, but the whole atonement mechanic is just so much fun, and it makes Discipline a beast in the outdoor world as well. I mean, obviously leveling right now is really easy for the most part, even if it does take a while. That's another topic for another video, but I've found that on my Discipline Priest, I can throw up a shield on myself and then pull as many enemies as I want to, and not really be in any danger of dying. And if I was playing Shadow, which I had done earlier in the leveling process, if I pulled more than a few enemies, I was in a lot more danger, and I had to spend a lot more time healing myself and trying to avoid that. Discipline, it all works together as a healing spec that deals damage in a way that is fun, engaging, overpowered, maybe, but definitely fun, and that's what this video is about. Obviously, I didn't include any of the warrior specs because warrior is going to be my main class, and I will play all 3 specs because I believe in maining a class and not a particular spec. But as far as alts go, I think it's fine to look at the specs that you want to play and see what's fun, what's not, what do you want to focus on, what do you want to avoid. And anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Those are the 5 specs that I am most looking forward to in Battle for Azeroth. Let me know what specs you are looking forward to on your alts down in the comments below. If you're having trouble picking a main character, maybe my thoughts on some of these specs kind of helped you get over that final hurdle. We've just got a couple of days before Battle for Azeroth comes out, so I will see you on the other side. Peace.